Hey guys, how's it going? It's the Crypto Analyst here, and I hope all of you guys are having a good morning, evening, wherever you guys are from. And welcome back to the Crypto Analyst live stream, where of course we talk about everything cryptocurrency related, and we go over what's happening in both the fundamentals and the technicals of Bitcoin, and break it down and explain it. Now, of course, then we move our way into the altcoins and take suggestions from you guys, the audience, and go over really what's happening from a couple of different perspectives. So if you guys are interested, welcome back to the Crypto Analyst live stream. This happens every single Saturday night at 8 p.m. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. This typically happens at Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern time, but we did have to move it. I did miss the one last week because of scheduling conflicts, and now we really are rearranging this to a Saturday night thing, and might even have some more ones going throughout the week. Now, I did just have to restart this live stream. I had someone come to my door, and we had to get that figured out. But now that that is all solved out, we should be good for tonight, and we should have at least a half an hour to an hour to talk about some cryptocurrency and talk about some very, very important stuff happening in Bitcoin right now, because it's bouncing off this heart line. It's playing this parallel channel like a fiddle, and it's right below resistance. Price is getting squeezed just a little bit again, and I want to make sure that we go over the EMAs, the falling channel, so obviously support and resistance, I almost said the fib retracement. Well, what could very soon be a fib retracement to the 618, and then of course the MACD and the RSI. So if this does interest you guys, drop a like and stick around, and we are ready to go here. So welcome everybody if you just are joining now. Let me pull up chat and send out this notification, and we should be ready to go. Do want to apologize for that restart, but what can you do? Things happen in real life. So giving everyone a second to join in here, I want to go ahead and kind of recap what we've had on Bitcoin and then get into what we were doing. Basically, recapping what we've had is basically the entirety of this falling channel. Again, 5 touch points at resistance all up in here, and then the 3 touch points at support. Very large gap in between. You can see really from the heart line just bouncing off of this area. Candle body closings, especially on the 1-day chart, which we will look at later, closing above this area. Now, this is all something that I've talked about in the last video, but one of the things I want to emphasize is there is a giant gap in between really the last time that this guy touched support down here and the last time in the current area of where it could touch support. It would be a pretty significant fall, going all the way from around $9,000 to around $5,500. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start expanding this window. There we go. So with Bitcoin being so kind of extended in the sense that it hasn't touched the bottom of the support in a while, one of two things really start to happen. One, people start to theorize that this can no longer be a credible falling channel, or two, that it's most likely not going to touch this area again. It's going to bounce off the support and then, ideally break out of this, this falling channel. A lot of people are still kind of calling this a bull flag. Again, it was up, like 500% from the bottom, bottomed out at around 3.1K, went all the way up to around almost 15K, topped out just below 14K, so around 450% to the upside. And still only about a 50, just over actually a 50% retracement now, working our way to about the 55% fib retracement range. Next significant fib retracement isn't until around the 618, which currently from our price range is around $7,222. So we got about $600 in between where we currently are and the 618 fib retracement. Welcome back, John Smith, and welcome back everybody else. And today, let's go ahead and talk about some of the new things happening on Bitcoin. So first things first, guys, the EMAs over here. One of the things that I'm looking for is really, of course, the failed golden crosses, which is something that we've already talked about. But the failed golden crosses not once but twice in here was a very, very big warning sign for me. Along with those rejections of the golden crosses, you also have double rejection from resistance. Now, one of the most key things about here is that this 50-day EMA on the 4-hour time scale is still being used as resistance and still seeing rejections from Bitcoin. As long as this guy's seeing rejections from this area, it's going to continue to be resistance. And for the most part, the heartline is going to continue to be support. I mean, the heartline is pretty much been the biggest contributor and the biggest player in this entire area. Ever since it peaked out at around 14K, the heartline has been one of the most contributing factors. I mean, you see kind of the rejections up in here. You see it immediately, continue that pathway until it's used as support. Of course, it breaks out, hits upper resistance, come back, and what was formerly resistance is now going to be support. And then it really continued on this path of being support until the current day. And although we do have a little bit of piercing candle action towards the downside here, if we move this to the 1-day chart, you can see very, very clearly that for the most part, these are just wicks. These are candles that are closing on the heart line or above it, and which is exactly where we're at right now. I mean, you have a beautiful candle coming down from this daily chart saying, okay, well, it's actually seeing a little bit of a bounce. You see the wicks start to forming towards the bottom of this guy saying, okay, this is still going to be support for Bitcoin. So from the macro scale, phone's blowing up a little bit. From the macro scale, Bitcoin, as long as it holds this heart line, isn't in too bad of a condition. I know a lot of people were basically just saying this is all doom and gloom and Bitcoin's going down from here. But again, I still think that it's a little bit too early to say anything like that because of the fact that, it's not in a horrible situation yet. Now, if this 1-day death cross does, end up approaching and does end up happening, then things will definitely become a little bit more bearish, and I would expect us to at least touch the bottom of this trend line before wanting to reverse, which is still, a solid $2,000 to the downside. So really watching these EMAs very, very closely, especially on this 1-day chart, because it's going to play a significant impact and have a significant impact on the future price action of Bitcoin, excuse me. So with that being said, guys, is a death cross actually feasible? Is it possible or reasonable, I guess is a better word, because with everyone who wants to invest their money in Bitcoin, obviously if they can accumulate more on these dips, that is the ideal solution. What I'm personally doing is I'm not taking money out of Bitcoin, especially not, until this heart line breaks for the most part. Because as long as this heart line's still in play, guys, what's to say? I mean, look at the past bounces, essentially bouncing off the heart line, seeing nearly a touch towards the top of resistance. And what's to say that that can't happen again? It basically kind of just ricocheting in the area of, if you guys know how parallel channels work, is that to simply put it, they go from support to resistance and from resistance to support. The only exception to that rule is the heart line. Now, the heart line is a form of either resistance or support, which is what makes it so unique. So inside of a falling channel, you of course have your overbearing resistance and your overbearing support. Now, in between there, you have the heart line. And what the heart line is, that was really bad. In between there, you have the heart line. And the heart line can act as either support or resistance, depending upon where the candles are. If the candles are below the heart line, it's going to be used as resistance. This is a great example. Candles are below the heart line, bounced off of overbearing support, saw the heart line as resistance and rejected from it. Why? Because the candles are below it and the heart line is above it. The opposite happens when the candles are above the heart line and they come down, it's going to be getting used as support. Why? Because former resistance is support and former support is now turned resistance and vice versa. So it's a relatively simple concept, and if you guys have any questions on that, be sure to ask me and I'd love to further clarify. So with what's happening now on Bitcoin, one of the things that we are seeing, as I shown on the daily chart, is that it's still using this area as support. As long as Bitcoin is, really kind of just bouncing off this area, it's not in too bad of a spot. Again, still below, you see this rejection candle from the 200 EMA on the 1-day time scale. Not something that we ideally want to see, but again, not a horrible situation either. Someone posted an article or a write-up the other day in my Discord talking about essentially Bitcoin having a rounding bottom over here. So that's completely possible, and it would play very, in part with the heart line itself over here. So if this is actually a rounding bottom and this does want to go back up towards upper resistance, one, it's going to have to conquer these EMAs. It's going to definitely defy a death cross if it wants to go back up here and break out. But there still is resistance around the range of around $9,100 on Bitcoin. So let's go ahead and break down all of my supports and resistances on Bitcoin, because that's something I used to do a lot and I don't really do anymore, which is probably one of the most intriguing factors, because then, I guess ideally people have an idea of where I would buy or sell, even though, legally I'm not allowed to give people financial advice about what to do with their money. So let's go ahead and I guess break this down. So of course, support being right here where we're at right now, first level of support is going to be this heart line. Ideally, the second level of support for me isn't going to be back down until around this $5,600, $5,500 area for Bitcoin. So if it does end up breaking this support over in here, not the best of, I don't want to say the word luck, but not the best of situations for Bitcoin if it does break support in here. So why am I talking about 5,500 and 5,600 as an area for Bitcoin rather than anywhere in between here? I mean, that's a $2,000 gap. Well, for me, one, this is going to be the bottom of this falling channel right down here around 5,600, 5,500. So if it does tank, you can imagine that it would come, pretty closely to this area. Also, I want to talk about some consolidation support on Bitcoin. That would make a lot of sense because if we talk about this area, it would be right around the 786 fib retracement, and it's also around this consolidation support. So former resistance actually going to be turning into now support on Bitcoin. And of course, we do have a lot of consolidation support around this $6,000 area, but we blew right through that with no trouble. So I don't know how much support we're going to get back on the way down. I mean, if we blew through what was the hardest resistance in the history of Bitcoin, I don't know. I just don't see it as too viable of an option. Not something that I'm personally just like loading money on, saying, whoa, well, this is going to hold because, it didn't really hold on the way up, so I don't expect it to hold on the way down. But that being said, guys, I really don't see it going too much lower than that. If it does break this, actually, I mean, it would be pretty bad. I would imagine that it would be a new low of year if the 786 breaks for the most part. Below that, you have around 4,200, which is the top of this forming ascending triangle on Bitcoin, something that we used a lot over here. I mean, it's an absolutely beautiful ascending triangle. Top of this ascending triangle is actually going to be turned into support now. And below that, I think if it breaks that for the most part, it's going to be a new low of year. I mean, unless it double bottoms, of course. So, ultimate layers, guys, let's go ahead and highlight these in some white lines. So we have 1, 2. This way, I guess you guys can see them a lot better. Maybe this is the new thing. Go ahead and put 3. And then move our way into, I guess we have 4, like right in here. So, for the most part, these are my support lines on Bitcoin. Now, let's go ahead and talk about some targets to the upside. Looking at Bitcoin, of course, we are going to have these EMAs. There's going to be a lot of targets. So hopefully this doesn't get too nasty. Our first one, if we can go ahead and move this over here, is going to be right around this area of around 9,200. Essentially what this is the former bottom of this descending triangle. And this is more of a trend line more than anything because of the fact that, and we can also go ahead and talk about this guy as well. Let's go ahead and put that guy in. This is really more of a trend line than anything, and to show this on the best way possible, I'm going to go ahead and move this over to the 4-hour chart. So why is this more of a trend line than like a formation of any kind? I would say that the answer is pretty simple. It came up over here, and upon this run up to the upside, came up, saw it as resistance, came back down, came back up, saw it as resistance again, saw it as resistance a third time, and then it was eventually able to break above it, and then this was a nice break, hook, and go scenario, where, now that it broke above it and came back for the retest, it's very clearly used as support. As long as it's been above this area, it was continually used as support again, and then used as support again, came back down into this area very closely, and was used as support, just over and over again. So with this continually happening, and I don't think, is my live? Are we live? We are live. I see the viewer count changing, but I can't see chat. If someone could type something in chat just to make sure that this is working properly, that would be amazing. So, where was I? To continue where I was from, basically the fact of the matter of why this would be an area is because this is former resistance turned support, and thus it would continue to be resistance because of the fact that it broke down. And if it retests this area, what was formerly support is now resistance. So we went from essentially it being resistance to support to resistance again. Yes, we are listening. Okay, awesome. I don't know why my computer's been acting up a little bit weird, but my little thing on the side was telling me that I wasn't live, but I saw the viewer count changing, and I was a little bit confused. I was like, how can the viewer count change if I'm not live? But moving back to what I was talking about, that would be one of the other targets. So targets right now, let's do a short recap. Where we're at. Where are we at? There we go. So to the downside, we have 30. I like this because now you guys can see this very clearly. 3,200, 4,400, 5,600, and 7,650. Those are going to be our supports. Now resistances are going to be around 9.2K. Now that we explained that, of course, one of the big resistances here, one of the most relevant, I would say, is going to be this 50 EMA on the 4-hour time scale. I mean, this thing is just very clear resistance. It's hard to argue that it's not resistance at this point. It's because of all the little micro rejections that you have over the last couple of days of Bitcoin. Really, I would say since maybe even more than a couple days, almost the last week, it being used as resistance. Since, yeah, honestly, almost a week now, it's been getting used as resistance. Because this started on October 31st, or not on October, on September 30th, all the way to now October 6th, and it's still using this point as resistance. So although we can't draw a line over to say like this is where the resistance is, because the fact that the 50-day EMA is always changing, I guess that doesn't really make sense to say a 50-day EMA. The 50 EMA is always changing. So the fact of the matter is that we can't just put a solid, set in stone resistance line, because of the fact that it's moving again like every 4 hours. So watching the 50 EMA on your own is going to be something very important. Of course, the 200, watching for this potential death cross happening on the 1-day chart. We're on the 4-hour chart right now, but watching that as well as a form of resistance. And then, of course, the top of resistance. Now, for me, that would be, very much even with this former point that we talked about. And this is where you start to have things get unique, because this happens a lot in cryptocurrency, where you have different resistance and different support lines converging to make one super form of trend line. And by this I mean, if this wants to go back up and at a pretty steady pace, it would essentially meet somewhere around here. Now, I wouldn't look at like this. I want it just sideways, whatever it may be, right? Whether it looks like that or however it is. At this point, you would have this trend line that we talked about happening from over here, and this falling resistance converging at this one local focal point. So with this focal point actually converging, this is something that we see happen a lot. And it kind of doubles up on the resistance, makes it stronger than it would normally be, because you have two different points kind of accessing the same area. This also works in favor for cryptocurrency, because if it breaks this is kind of an additional reason, I would say, as to why things are so volatile in cryptocurrency, because this happens a lot. And once it breaks this, it's not like it's just breaking out of one small resistance or one area. It's essentially breaking out of now like 2 to 3 areas, and it's breaking 3 layers of support. So the sell walls up here are a lot less inclined, because the people that were constantly shorting this trend line on the way down and this trend line on the way across, those people, both of those groups of people just got eliminated, along with all the EMA people. So when this happens, you can kind of see price fly. And so this would go hand in hand to the theory of, well, this is a giant bull flag, and the breakout of this would be phenomenal, because of the fact that you'd be breaking 2 different levels of resistance, and you'd be getting above all the EMAs on the 4-hour time scale, and pretty much you'd have a pretty smooth, I would say, sailing all the way up to around $10,500. Now above that, if you can break that, I think it's going right back to around 12.2K fairly easily. So I have all of these guys circled. I don't know if it's worth drawing like a line for each and every one of them, but basically every top over here is going to be an area of resistance, every swing high for the most part. So let's just draw up these guys. There we go. What you can see is also a very nice squeeze from almost a pennant. And the way I want to kind of show that is just to delete this for the wait, where'd it go? Wait, actually we need that back. Well, we can't delete this because we need essentially this resistance line over in here to show the fact that there's a pennant. So if we can see this falling level of resistance and this rising level of support, you saw a nice pennant, otherwise known as a symmetrical triangle, forming on Bitcoin, which went hand in hand with the squeeze. Now, let's go ahead and delete this guy. One of the most significant things, I don't want to say one of the most significant, one of the things that I keep noticing, guys, is how the volume is reacting and affecting the price action of Bitcoin. If you guys have stuck around on the channel for a while, you guys know when I say like a big move is coming. Not to say that I'm 100% right every amount of the time, but a lot of you guys ask, well, how do you know a big move is coming? Like, I've seen you do this before. I just did it again. I was looking in here saying, hey, we probably have at least $1,000 move coming to Bitcoin. I think I made a video titled like, where's my YouTube channel? I made a video titled like huge move incoming, and I said it would happen within the next 48 hours, and it did. Where is it? Yeah, so here, let's highlight this. I made a video titling, Bitcoin set to explode, huge move incoming. And then in the next video I said, and so in the next video I said, huge squeeze incoming on Bitcoin, ready to explode. Next video, Bitcoin set to explode. It was like all these warning signs, and then all of a sudden, Bitcoin dumped X amount of money. Bitcoin went from, where'd it go? It went from $10,000 roughly to around 7.6K. So about, what is that, $2,500 in like 48 hours. So one of the ways and one of the things that I use to kind of deduct this hypothesis and come to my conclusions is looking at the volume along with a lot of other things. Obviously, the price action is being squeezed on Bitcoin. We could see that from like a ton of different ways. Whether you want to look at that from the symmetrical triangle, whether you want to look at that from the EMAs, whether you want to look at that from the candles, whether you want to look at that from the volume, all of these different things were just squeezing so tight. I mean, the EMAs looked more like a Bollinger Band than anything else. And that's all a sign that the price action is getting ready to explode, or I guess some people would say in here, implodes. You know, implode to the downside, explode to the upside. So one of the things that I was looking at very clearly is, of course, the 4 hour over here starting to squeeze again, but on the 1 day, I think is where, I believe this is where we saw it. Yeah, the 1 day is where this is just beautifully clear. So if you guys can see this over here, I mean, with the volume just steadily falling off over here and slanting down, it was one of those situations where, along with looking to the price action and all the other things that I listed, it was kind of a slap in the face to say, oh, no, you know, it's just going to go sideways. While it's possible, and it has happened before, I certainly would say that it's not probable. So with the volume over here squeezing, I think it was very evident that Bitcoin was getting ready for a large move. One of the things that I was stressing is that if you are trading this, I wasn't trading this, but if you are trading this, make sure you have a stop loss in place, because it's not going to be a fun ride if you get caught on the end of this. And that's probably one of the most important principles of trading cryptocurrency or anything, is really to have your stop losses in place on these high volatility swing trades. Now, day trading is a little bit of a different story because it's very different. But especially, I would say, for swing trades, especially high volatility swing trades, stop losses are going to be your best friend. Sometimes you are going to get stopped out of what would be a winning position, and that really sucks. It sucks to happen. But, you know, it should, if you're playing it right, pay you out more for the winners than for the losers, because you shouldn't be getting stopped out of everything in swing trading. It's a lot more reliable, I would say, than day trading. Tolu, welcome. If you guys haven't already, drop a like on the video. Helps out the channel a lot and helps spread the word. Tolu says, should I buy Bitcoin now? Well, I can't tell you whether you should or should not buy Bitcoin. That is considered legal and financial advice that I am personally not allowed legally to give to you on the internet. And, you know, there's no paperwork or anything. But what I can tell you is that I am not buying Bitcoin in this area. I'm not accumulating anymore. Why? You know, I'm a guy that drives a hard bargain. I bought a lot of Bitcoin at 3.4K down here. Haven't bought any since. I've just been selling it off. I am looking to accumulate more. I still have I would say a decent amount of Bitcoin that I'm holding. I'm not selling it all by any means, because I think Bitcoin, will eventually one day blow away this price range. Significantly higher. But I am at the point where, I was very intentional about taking profits up in this area. So I am personally waiting for Bitcoin. If it does get a little bit lower, I will start accumulating more again. Again, I want to start accumulating more Bitcoin below $6,000. For me, that's where it starts becoming an interesting bargain, an interesting price for me to get interested. But above that, I don't know. I have a hard time convincing myself that I really want to be spending that much money, because I feel like I can just get it at a better buy. I can see it on some of these dips, whether that dips is at 7,000 or 5,000, or maybe it's new all-time lows. I will continue buying it below $6,000, and that's kind of a rule that I've had set for myself for a while now. So again, I can't tell you what to do, but personally, that's what I'm doing for myself. So, moving on. Should we talk about Ethereum, guys? We can go ahead and move to Ethereum, or if you guys want me to talk more about Bitcoin or answer any questions, just let me know in chat. Because we could definitely move this on to Ethereum, or we continue to talk about Bitcoin. So, I'll let you guys have the vote. And if you guys say Ethereum, we'll go to Ethereum. And if you guys want more Bitcoin, we will stay on Bitcoin and keep analyzing this guy. Because it's been a little while. So in the meantime, let's chilling over here. XRP. XRP, please. XRP. I guess we're skipping Ethereum. And we're going to XRP. All right, guys. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to XRP, and then we're going to come back to Bitcoin and Ethereum, and we're going to cover those guys. So let's go take a look at XRP. This is a very hot topic. XRP, I assume you guys want it to the US dollar, or do you guys want it to the Bitcoin pairing? You guys choose. USD. USD it is. All right, so we're on the USD right now, so that works out. Get rid of this guy. And almost 100% fib retracement, actually. Actually, pretty much spot on. So, yeah, pretty much spot on. Let's talk about this. I haven't looked at this chart in a couple weeks. With XRP doing this right now, immediately what I'm looking is that former resistance has turned support. Now, I wish this was under better circumstances. XRP, please. XRP. XRP to the USD. All I see is XRP to the US dollar. USD. XRP is gearing up for a heck of a bounce. You guys really want XRP? Yes, I would agree with you. I'm going to be honest. So let's go ahead and explain why. So former resistance is now support. So we have resistance all up in here again. 1 rejection, 2 rejection, 3 rejection. Could argue that that's a fourth or fifth right in here. And then now that it broke above this, again, what was formerly resistance is now going to be support. So we broke out of it. Now, if we're coming back down to it right here, it's going to be support. So support, 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 and then support again. This guy is starting to get used as a very, very good support. One of the great things about XRP is, I guess it's a love-hate relationship because it's very do or die. It's very volatile when it comes down to some of these overall lower support ranges. What I mean by that is, like, look at some of the wicks on these guys to the upside and the downside. I mean, touch this guy, tanks. Touch this guy's tanks. Touch this, tank. Bounces off this, it rockets up. Bounces off this, piercing candle, but it was also a double bottom. Bounces right back up. Bounces off this guy, right back up. Bounces, look at how volatile this is. So very do or die. When it breaks these supports, it does, absolutely, flies. And this is what I mean by it's very do or die. Obviously, the rejections are extremely strong, right? Rejected from like 38 cents. Rejected from 38 cents, went all the way back down to 25 cents. But in the same sense, on the flip side, it broke this resistance that was so strong. And it went, after it broke resistance, it ripped like 12 cents, which is huge. So that's what I mean by it's a love-hate relationship of like do or die. It either rejects hard or breaks hard. And like if you don't have XRP stop losses in, like you're trying to be a trader and not just like a hodler, like you are shooting yourself in the foot. I would say. It's just so volatile. So with XRP, I think one of the best things about this is that for the most part, it's holding its yearly lows. Now, yes, it did hit new yearly lows of 21 cents. However, or whatever you want to call it, new 12-month lows. These new 12-month lows were a wick, a very, very extended wick, a very large wick. And let's go ahead and explain and look at this. Move that just a tad. There we go. Oops. We're on the wrong tool. So with this wick over here on XRP, it's freaking huge. You go about a 3 to 4 cent wick, bouncing off of support and coming all the way back up to the EMA. Starting to get squeezed in this EMA range. You can see it's to start happening. But this 12-month support line of where it bottomed out previously, I would say that as long as it's holding above this point over here, it's not in a horrible spot. Again, it needs to kind of hold this range, and we can see it starting to bounce off this range now that it broke back into it. Ideally, though, if it doesn't, we would imagine that it touches the bottom of the support line again, which would be pretty low. Pretty hefty drop from where it's at right now. Not losing half of its value, but I mean, probably what, 30% drop or something if it wants to retest support. So hopefully it doesn't have to retest support. But one of the things that I was noticing over here is the potential for a falling wedge. So one of the things that I am watching out for in here is actually the either one. I guess you could say that this is like a falling wedge or a rounding bottom. I think what XRP has historically used this area of support as a long time. I can kind of show this up. So whether this is resistance, again, wicks being above here, now what was formerly long-term, let's look at this on a macro, because this actually looks really good. So on the macro of XRP, and we just need to like lower that just a tad, for the macro of XRP, this has been the upper level of resistance. It's just ironic because what was formerly the upper levels of resistance of XRP for like months and months on end is now actually, you know, the bottom. It's the overall bottom of support. I keep saying resistance. So the roles have flipped. What was previously resistance is now support. As long as it holds this, guys, XRP isn't in a bad spot. It's actually in a phenomenal spot. If it can hold this and break out, ideally from this falling wedge that we have over in here, I mean, you already have your 3 touch points on support, and you have 2 touch points on resistance. It could certainly break out somewhere in here, and the upside would be 32, 33 cents easily. Easily. Above that, you know, 49, 50 cents, very possible. And I would say more reasonable would be a 40-cent target. So it's just ironic because when the prices get low, no one wants to buy. But when the prices get high, everyone wants to buy. Like, you know, the art of FOMO and the concept of FOMO just like takes people over. And people go, oh man, you know, I wish I bought when XRP was around like 27 cents way down in here, because you see it doubled and it went all the way up to 51 cents and I could have doubled my money. You know, 100% gain. It's incredible. It's fast. It's volatile. It's scary. I get it. But everyone always talks about, oh man, I wish I bought down here and I wish I sold up here. And when the price gets down here, everyone goes, oh, well, I don't want to buy down here because, you know, it's fallen so much. It's in a bear market. It's going to die. And then when it gets back up here, everyone's like, oh, I should probably just buy in now. And it's like the reverse concept of what you should be doing. Again, I'm not telling people to buy down here, but like it's just ironic how many times and I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard, when the prices get down here, everyone goes, oh, well, don't buy that. You know, don't buy crypto. It's a scam. And then when it gets up here and they go, oh, you know, I was looking about investing into this. And it happens so much, especially on Bitcoin. And sorry, I almost went back to Bitcoin. Let's finish this analysis before I get on to anything else. MACD isn't really saying anything. Really extremely neutral here. No divergence on there. Very neutral on here as well. Not something that I would... Oh, this is the daily. Let's look at it on the 4-hour. Yeah, for the most part, very neutral. Leaning towards, I don't know, maybe a little bit bearish. Just because your oscillators and stuff. Consistent. Well, yeah, I don't know. It's extremely neutral, that's for sure. So there's definitely potential for it to go either way here. Yeah, I mean, definitely the potential's there. It's using the 50 EMA as support on the 4-hour chart, though, so it's not a horrible situation. But, you know, ideally, I can't be too bearish on XRP here, just because the area of risk versus reward in this zone is just too, you know, it's too good. Because, you know, I would imagine that it would, you know, even if it comes back down here, you know, creeps back up, and I mean, just look at the range. It's just ranging, right? I mean, it's literally just ranging. You can see it all started over in here, but it's just been ranging. Came down and up, and you can say that there's even a heart line in here. You know, let's do that. It's actually a really smart idea. Let's get rid of you and get rid of you. Put a parallel channel in here. And there we go. Perfect. So what happened on XRP is that we came down and then we went up and we came back to the heart line and then back to resistance, fell through the heart line, came back to support, back to the heart line, back to support, back to the heart line, ended up actually breaking out here, coming back up towards resistance, back to support. So if it's back down at support, again, area value, risk versus reward, I really can't be too bearish down in here. Also, looks like potentially a falling wedge. So I'm not too bearish over here. The risk versus reward ratio is what I'm talking about. And if you guys don't know what that is, I'll draw one up. So basically saying that anywhere in here is my buy zone, the red's my buy zone, the green's my sell zone. A potential at 92.68% gain while risking 12%. So risk versus reward ratio of 7.71. Whether that's worth it for you, again, you can also make this better by even like tightening your stop loss. And what I mean by that is we can go in here and say like, all right, well, I'm actually going to like enter in here. I'm actually entered way down in here. So then you can tighten your stop loss and tighten your risk zone, saying, okay, well, now I'm only risking half that. I'm risking 6.29% for a potential gain of 97%. Risk versus reward ratio is doubled also to around 15.52. So by tightening and managing your entries, it significantly increases your risk versus reward and stuff. And I think that's one of the biggest things. One of the biggest things that people don't realize. I mean, you guys saw, let me show you this. You guys saw how little we decreased this box, right? It was like this. So let's look at this, right? It was like this. Look at how little we will decrease this red box in here and how big our risk versus reward ratios will change. So if we just manage our risk over here and put this to, cut it in half, the box really didn't change that much in my opinion. It was about this. And we went to this dude. So all you have to do by doing that is to just look at this and say, okay, well, I'm just going to enter it at a lower price. You put this whole thing different. Now all of a sudden your risk versus rewards of 14.1 and your loss potential is a 6.9 and your gain potential is pretty much stayed the same. Anyway, cool little trick. Manage your entries more than anything. So many people get very, very greedy on their entries and then this thing tanks because if you end up moving this around, the whole thing is messed up. Now you're down to 86% to the upside. Risk versus rewards now is 7.5. You're risking 11%. If you want to even do this even worse, things snowball pretty fast. That's my rant. Let's go through chat. I'm doing stops now. Does my digital asset have to be on the exchange for me to do that? If you want to do a stop loss, which I'm not telling anyone to, but if you want to do a stop loss, you have to be on an exchange. I don't think you can do it on a wallet. I mean, I've never seen a wallet. I've never seen a wallet that offers stop losses because it stores cryptocurrency. You can't really buy or sell. Wouldn't make any sense. But yeah, I'm pretty sure you'd have to be on an exchange in order to use stop losses. In this area though, like I don't know. I don't want to encourage anything, but in this area, I would probably just be accumulating more XP. Again, this is me personally. I might even buy some. I might set some fishing orders down in here around 24 and below, just to accumulate some more XRP. The stop losses are more important when you're trading in riskier areas. In here, and I don't really see it. I don't know. I hate to say this because I say this and then I jinx myself and then people were like, what the heck, man? But so take this with a grain of salt because I've said this before and I jinx myself. or I jinx everyone. But I don't really see it breaking here, and I don't really see it tanking below 20, 23, 22 cents and like hitting this 18 cents mark. I mean, looking at this from a macros perspective, like it should hold here and just, I don't want to say the word keep going up, but like it should hold here and have a significant upside. It would just make sense. It would be reasonable, it would be fundamental, it would be logical. And so take that very lightly, but it would just make sense. Yeah. So, I don't know, just looking at this, I mean, just from like a simple eye, even if you don't understand technical analysis, you can see that, oh, that's really big. You can see that like this little area in here, it just bounces off here. This is the bottoming area. So I don't know. I don't really, it would really suck. It would really suck to get stopped out in this area, because I just think this whole area is such a good area of buying, in my opinion. Not legal, financial, or tax advice in any way. Jalen, $100 to $300 of XRP based on fundamentals. So are you asking, Ms., are you asking if I think that that's possible? If XRP can hit $100? Jalen, what's up? Great to have you in here. Why not just be bullish? On here, I'm pretty bullish on XRP in here. I think it's hard to be bearish at this point. At this area of range on XRP, I think it's hard to be bearish. Hello all, I have XRP, but I'm not sure how it would ever reach such high numbers with so many of them out there. What do you think? I think that's a really good question, and I've actually done a numerical calculations of like what's a feasible, achievable, and possible number for XRP to hit. And I did like calculations on screen and everything, and I did a video on it. It's like, I think the video is titled like, how high can XRP really go? And it got a lot of backlash because people were like, no, you're wrong. It can hit $1 million a piece, and it can't. It's not possible. There's not enough money in the world for it to hit like anywhere near $1 million a piece. That makes sense to me. I need stop losses. I've already packed my bags in all the way down to 24 cents. Ooh. No, I'm not asking. Yeah, I know you're not asking, Ms. I have to say that for legal reasons on YouTube and stuff. All those XRP, how can they ever be more than $1? 17 million BTC, 100 billion XRP. How can they ever be valuable like BTC? They can't. There is legitimately not enough money in the world. And with the laws of supply and demand, again, 15 million versus 100 billion, they aren't going to be worth the same price. I mean, we have 100 billion like little skipping stone rocks in the world, and they're worth nowhere as much as gold. Why? Because the fundamentals of supply and demand state that if there's a lot of something, it won't be worth as something that is as rare. So that was a really bad explanation. Basically, because something is so common, if anyone can go out and pick a stone out of their backyard, it's not going to be worth a lot. Why? Because anyone can go into their backyard and pick up a stone. Now, not anyone can do that with gold. Why? Because it's rare. There's significantly less of it. It's significantly harder to find, and thus it has value because not everyone can just go get it. Same thing happens with Bitcoin and XRP. There's a lot less of Bitcoin, making it, rarer. Not everyone in the world can have a Bitcoin, but everyone in the world can own at least one XRP. So just because of supply and demand and the ways that works with markets, XRP is cheaper because of its circulating supply and its max supply, and Bitcoin is more expensive for the exact same reason. Thanks, good TA. I appreciate it, guys. If you guys are liking it, hit that like button. I don't know what to do for XRP. HODL super long term. Pretty much for all my altcoins at this point, all my altcoins are HODL long term. I'm not trading alts. I mean, yeah, I'm accumulating at this point. Like, I'm just accumulating alts. I mean, while they're this low. Oops, sorry. Utility will decide. Gold is much more acceptable than crypto. Yeah, I completely agree with you. But that was just like the example of saying. The main point was to say that like the difference between the value of gold and just a normal stone or a normal rock is the fact that there's like billions of rocks in the world, and there's not just like billions of rocks of gold. You know what I'm saying? Gold's significantly more valuable than just like the average rock. You can't say, oh, well, gold's a rock and that's a stone, and both are rocks, so they both should be worth the same. You know, it's not the people who argue that XRP can be worth as much as BTC. That's literally like saying, well, if a diamond's a rock or a stone or a gem, and a piece of graphite's also a piece of rock, they can be worth the same thing. I mean, it's just silly, right? It's silly when you think about it and say, well, because that's a rock and that's a rock, they should be worth the same. That's like saying because, well, that's a cryptocurrency and that's a cryptocurrency, they can be worth the same as well. It's a silly concept that people throw around, and for whatever reason, people tend to believe and continue to state on the internet that XRP can be worth as much as BTC. Why? Because they're both cryptocurrencies. And because Bitcoin hit this price, XRP can do it too. It's a really big false concept that people spread, whether it's for fame or views or whatever it is. It's beyond me. But the concept still stays that, you know, XRP reasonably, if you do the way that you can do this is that you can actually check how much money's in the world, and then you can fact check the absolute maximum that XRP could ever be if the entire world's budget was put into it. And I've done that before. And I forget what it was, but I did a video on it. So if you guys want to go back, watch the video. Thanks, that's what I thought. I have XRP and want it to be worth something, but it seems $10 seems like the top. $10 is, I will say, so here's the thing, $10 is numerically possible. It would have to really be adopted, but it's a possible feasible number. I mean, it hit $3.50 before. So just about 2.5 times that, and you're there. So it's a numerically possible, reasonable, I would say, number for the long term of XRP. BTC has no utility. Proof of work doesn't work. Utility will change the game. BTC, beta, XRP, first gen. Ripple is dominating the world, 25%. Designed for 10K. Utility will rule the day. Don't knock what you haven't researched. I don't think you understand. This channel was started. XRP was the first altcoin that I've ever purchased. XRP is still my heavily invested altcoin. Don't think that I hate XRP. It's the largest altcoin in my portfolio, and it's one of the top coins that I actually really like. I think I have more altcoin videos on XRP than any other cryptocurrency. I'm not knocking on it in any way. I'm just saying there's reasonable numbers and there's not reasonable numbers for what it can hit. It can't get popular without BTC blooming adoption, but Ripple is finding ways to expand the XRP ecosystem. I think XRP is incredible. I've stated numerous times that they have the best marketing team in all of cryptocurrency, and I think it's hard to debate that. Their networking team and their marketing team has hit so many large-scale partnerships, almost more than any other cryptocurrency, if not more than any other cryptocurrency. They're probably the most effective and one of the most used for monetary purposes. Looking at the numbers, just so many of them ever to be worth so much. Yeah, so I'll link you guys a video. Let me go find a link to it. I have a video literally titled, like, I don't know. What was it titled? How much, I think it was like, how much can XRP actually be worth? It was something like that. If I can pull this video up, yeah, here it is. 34,000 views. This is definitely it. I don't even remember what I said in this video. There's a video. If you guys want to go look at it and watch it, by all means. But all of that, I think that's the video where I fact-checked everything with numbers. Don't be an XRP extremist. Brendan is right. XRP can't go to that high. Yeah, I mean, it can, like, reasonably, it can go to $10. Like, it's actually possible. 250% from its all-time high would still have it over, I don't know where that would put it. I think I'd do it all in the video. But $10, reasonable number for XRP. Long-term growth. $10,000, I believe I talk about it in the video. I don't know if that's actually, I don't think there's enough money in the world to get it to that price. $10 would be spectacular. I completely agree. I mean, if it's at 25 cents right now, what would 10 here? Let's check this out. And sorry, I'm getting a little bit off track, but let's here. This is what we'll do. We'll say if you buy anywhere around this 25-cent area, right? Which is where we're at right now. And people are going to complain that like $10 isn't enough, but like let's go. So here we are, $10. That would be 3,000 and about, what is it? 3,600%. It's about, yeah, it's like they said, about 40 times, almost 40 times what you put into it. It's not enough, though, not enough. I don't know. Sorry, I bash fun on it, but like, that's a lot. That's a lot of money. Most people won't even make that over their lifetime in trading. The average person won't. You risk 13% at a potential gain of 36,000 or 3,000. Was it 36,000? 3,600. Sorry, did I say 36,000? My bad. If I did, I'm sorry. 3,600. So 3,600. For a risk of 13%. I don't know. And again, I'm not promising that it'll ever go to that number, but like ideally, I think that that's a reasonable long-term goal for XRP. Anyway, moving on. We've ranted enough here. Let's go to, do you guys want to go to, I'll let you guys decide. Do you guys want to go to Ethereum or do you guys want to go back to Bitcoin? Ethereum. All right, Ethereum it is. I saw Ethereum. There would literally have to be at least $1 quadrillion to get it that high. I don't think it'd be a quadrillion, but it would be close. I think it would be kind of close to $1 trillion to get it to $10. Maybe like $1 quadrillion to get it to $10,000. And if you look at how much money's in the world, you can literally just do it a quick, oh, we have contradicting. Okay, you know what? Let's do both. Let's do Ethereum and then go back to BTC. What are we on? Yeah, so yeah, it sucks. So let's just get rid of this guy. Bitcoin over here broke a very long-term support line. Again, all in here we can see that it's used as support, used to support, used to support all in here, used to support again. And then what was previously support now turned resistance. And then, of course, broke above, hook, break, hook, go. Retested the support line. This is where it gets tricky because in here, this would have probably have stopped you out, right? You probably would have gotten stopped out by that wick and it would have really sucked. Break, hook, and go. But this is where you get saved. So maybe, you know, maybe you get stopped out and you lose like 4% here, right? But what happens if this event, I just messed up. What happens if this event would have been this event? In this situation, you would have had a stop loss. And yes, you would have been prevented from getting these gains. But imagine if you're like, oh, well, I got stopped out last time, so I don't want to put a stop loss in this time. And you long this support line again, and it just breaks. This is why I I really enjoy stop losses. Because, you know, yes, it sucks when you get stopped out of them. But like when it saves you, it really saves you. So Ethereum tanked through the roof. Has a death cross on the 4-hour time scale, something to very much look at. And although it's not as significant as the 1-day time scale, it's definitely still impactful on the price. I mean, it's pretty evident in here. Rejections from the 50 and the 200 EMA on the 4-hour chart. The man, my voice is killing me. MACD is ever so slightly bullish. Very neutral though. And no, I would say ever so slightly bullish on the RSI as well. No real divergence for the most part. No strong divergence. Oh, my neck. Just having a good old neck pop. By the way, how many of you guys are from Australia? Just a quick number in chat. If you guys are from Australia, say something in chat. Bullish divergence from... I would say ever so slightly bullish divergence on the 1-day MACD, and working our way towards being bullish on the 1-day as well. You know, everything's very neutral. There's no like strong divergence. Actually, Ethereum had a death cross on the 1-day. So the death cross on the 1-day chart actually happened right over here around August 25th. And, it's interesting. So as long as this death cross is, you know, the trend is your friend, death cross is bearish, golden cross is bullish, trend is your friend, golden cross happened, price just kept going up, death cross happened, price will continue to go down until a golden cross happens, keeping it simply. That's what I meant by 10K. I see what you're saying, Rosie. It's just sad everything is tied to the BTC movements. It really is. And back in 2017, it was, and even parts of 2018, it was really, really fun to trade altcoins because they moved independently. And that's something that we haven't seen in a very long time. Like, I want to say like 6-8 months is the last time we saw altcoins move independently from Bitcoin. So it's something I really do miss because if you have projects that are working for completely different tasks, it really is sad that if Bitcoin goes down, they have to go down too, despite all the good work that they're doing. And it's definitely not like an encouragement for them to continue to do more good work because if Bitcoin goes down, they go down. And people kind of have just developed this mindset of, oh, well, it doesn't matter what we do because if Bitcoin goes up, we go up. So just push Bitcoin. It's the sad reality. Axie, I'm from North Korea. If I get caught... Okay. John, you're from Australia? If you are here, I believe you know what you're doing. I'm actually... I know this has come up on stream, but there's a chance that I'm actually moving to Australia. Fair enough. I don't know what that's going to do to live stream times, but I'm currently in... I can't talk about a lot, but I'm currently in the process of talking to a company about being... or applying. I'm like really in the process of like applying and everything. Of possibly... working as the head of marketing or a marketing manager, whatever the official term you want to call it is, for this essentially for this company doing their crypto stuff. So I'm excited. So we'll see. Hopefully I'm qualified. I think I'm qualified. But I would love to do it. I'm actually extremely excited. They look like an amazing company. And if all goes well, I get the job and I will be moving to Australia around May or June, somewhere around there. In Sydney, sorry. In Sydney. I know it's the classic. It's like, oh, Brendan, you could have chose any other place. No, I mean, Sydney's a cool area and the job's really, really cool, so I'm excited. I think that's so typical of like the American being like, oh, well, where are you going in Australia? Oh, I'm going to Sydney. I feel that has to be a joke in Australia about like where do all the Americans go? So let's talk about this. Former resistance now turns support on Ethereum. Pretty clear over in here. Even if we do it like that, see resistance all the way down, broke above it, now support. Rejection from the 50 EMA on the 4-hour time scale, and the macro for Ethereum is. I wonder. Okay, we're going to try something. Haha, that's what I like to see. So, sorry, I'm like right up on my mic. Support line, support line, support. Piercing candle closings are above support, which is all right. So I think as long as it holds here, the only thing that is a little bit weird is that, it is right below the EMAs, and the EMAs are resistance. So maybe it gets squeezed and just breaks towards the downside, and this whole theory is discredited. But an idea, a possibility, is that this is actually support where it's at right now, and it could bounce here. Definitely could. The sad truth of the matter is that it will follow Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin tanks, this guy's going right along with it. And that's the sad truth of the matter. And if it does tank, it's probably going pretty fast and far. We're talking like $132, so the possibility of having a $50 drop if it does break support. So just something to be careful of, for sure. Other than that, Ethereum, there's really not too much to talk about. I think we covered it. Unless there's like long-term resistance up in here or something. Which I don't think there is. Yeah, there's really not. Overbearing resistance, maybe, from local top. We can look at that. Yeah, we'll leave this guy in here. That's what we'll do. We'll leave this here, and those will be our lines. You know what, actually? If we do this and this, what we end up getting is a falling wedge. I like that. That looks good. So let's explain this. I didn't see this until the very last second. From support to resistance, from support back to support again, actually. So from support to resistance, hit the EMA perfectly, very, very perfectly, off the 50 EMA, back to support, back to this former support line, now turn resistance, back to support, upper resistance, back to support, back to where? The 50 EMA, former support. So very methodical, a little bit of a tricky one. I will say, a little bit of a tricky one on this Ethereum move, but definitely a methodical, consistent one with technical analysis. Definitely a more tricky one to follow, but still very, very good. I'm going to leave that up there. I really like that. I'm going to leave that up there for Ethereum. That's a good chart. So definitely a good catch. Enjoy Australia. I can't speak. Enjoy Australia when you go. I will, man. You will like Australia, I am sure. I'm really excited. I would love to. I'd love to move over there. I really would. Continue what I'm doing and expanding and learn more about culture and crypto. Have you heard of someone called the Crypto Oracle? I have. I hope one day some cryptos decouple with the main branch, from the main branch. What do you mean by that? Like companies or like cryptocurrencies? Okay, here's my obstacle coin. My obscure coin, TNT. Could you please have another look at it? Absolutely, my dude. TNT to BTC. Oh my god. Oh, look at this! Come on. This is perfect. There we go. Target hit. Target hit, boys. Target has hit. The last time we talked about this, remember? Come on, this is the range. Oh, that's hype. That got me excited. So with TNT, support. Pretty much saying like this is the buy zone, putting it very, very simply. That's the buy zone. This is the sell zone. And we kind of just drew it up by these white lines by saying, like, if it's around this area, I would be interested in buying. If it's around this area, I would be interested in selling. So at this point, I can't tell you guys what to do with your money, but my message for myself is don't FOMO here. Man, I need to get on this. Man, we called it too. Beautiful swing trade. I would be at profit taking area here. I would be. Not telling you to, but I would certainly be at profit taking area. Beautiful. Now, I wouldn't necessarily take all my profits, but like I would take at least 50% of my profits here, if not all. It's a pretty nice range. I mean, everything's a nice range until it's broken. Golden cross on the 1 day just happened. Wow. Decouple from... Oh, I completely agree with you, Jalen. I would love to have some cryptocurrencies decouple from BTC and not move. I mean, it would add so much more to the trading aspects of cryptocurrencies. For all of you, this is Tika's pick. Keep an eye on it, guys. Are you talking about Tika Tawari? Beautiful. Beautiful range, target hit, mission accomplished. Back to Bitcoin. Tika Tawari. I don't like that guy. I'm sorry. Him and his company were like, they were just, I gotta watch what I say on YouTube because they've watched my videos before and they weren't happy. I don't know. Me and him had a disagreement. Let's put it there. And he got mad and messaged YouTube, and I got banned for 3 months. On this channel, I was banned from live streaming for 3 months, and I had to do reformation stuff. And what else? I can't cover any of his stuff again. He got really mad at me because he made a video or this like seminar where he said he was gonna do this thing about like I don't know what it was, like a $100 trillion crypto prediction or something. And I made a video talking about why everything he said in his video was wrong and why, basically saying, I think it was like by 2019 crypto would be at like $100 trillion, and I made a video saying like why crypto wasn't going to be at $100 trillion by 2019. And then he took legal action to get the video down and then get me banned because he didn't, because I kind of roasted him. But you know, it is what it is. I was banned last year from like last fall. I want to say it was like last like September, August, October, November area. I was banned from live streaming because I did a video on that guy. I'm sure if you guys go back to my old videos, you'll see like a long stretch of time where I wasn't doing live streams. And it was because of that guy being... I'm not going to say any like mean things about him, but like it just wasn't cool. And then I tried to message him and YouTube. I tried to message him and YouTube was like, sorry, you have to message him. And then I called him and then they wouldn't answer. And then I left messages and they wouldn't call me back. And I emailed them and I direct messaged them and they ignored everything I sent them. And I was like, can we just get this sorted out? I wasn't breaking terms of service, this and that. Please like repeal this ban. I didn't do anything wrong. And they just ghosted me. And so I was like, all right, so it's going to be like that. And I did not want to have to pay for a lawyer to get me unbanned from live streaming for 90 days. Just seemed such like an expensive hassle to like get live streaming abilities back. So I just made videos for 90 days. Where are we at? BTC. Really? Tika banned you from YouTube? Yeah. He sounds dodgy though, salesman. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but like, I don't know. I wasn't happy with the way he handled the situation, especially never responding to me or any of that, and like not returning phone calls or messages. I was frustrated. I'm sure he's a great guy. He's a smart guy, obviously. He wouldn't be where he was if he's not smart. He's smart, undoubtedly. But I was just a little unpleased at how he handled my situation. Anyway, unfair bias. YouTube is strict now. First to accuse usually gets their way. You're 100% right. Honestly. But, nonetheless, it is what it is. You learn from every mistake. Even though I don't really think I made a mistake. But, you learn. You live and you learn. With that being said, guys, I think we are pretty much done. We pretty much covered everything that we needed to in today's video. I'm going to be having another YouTube video coming out tomorrow on Bitcoin, or, maybe that's Ethereum or XRP or one of those guys. But we'll definitely have a lot of cryptocurrency stuff coming out soon. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I got some stuff to be at 9, and I do need to get ready. So, again, if you guys haven't already, hit that like button. I do appreciate it a lot. If you guys really enjoyed the live stream, make sure to share it with someone. And I will see you guys very, very soon. Also, fun fact is, I'm so slouched down. It's horrible for my back. I got a new camera. So, I don't know if things are any clearer or better, but, it's just a cool thing. I had to point it out. I don't know if anyone even noticed. Probably not, because it's barely an upgrade. Barely. Criticizing is not a mistake. Banning is a different... Yeah, it was unfortunate, but, it's not a big deal. It's the past. Past. I was expecting 8 p.m. You came early. Lol. Yeah. So, one more thing, guys. The live streams have been moved to Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Saturdays at 7 p.m. for the most part. Because I now have commitments. No, I'm sorry, not Saturdays. Is today Sunday? This whole live stream I've been saying Saturday. Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time is now the new live streaming time. This whole live stream I've been saying Saturday at 7 p.m. Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time is going to be the new live streams. So come on in here. Well, that's a busy time. I know, it's unfortunate. It's just a little bit early. I have commitments now from... overlapping commitments from Sundays at 9 to 11, which is about 9 right now, is about an hour away. So for the next 3 hours, I'm pretty busy. And I don't want to do from 11 to 1 a.m. It's just too late for me. But, yep, guys. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and end this, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys want a link to the Discord, there's a link to that in the description down below. And I'll see you guys all very, very soon. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.